You know, you got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
Sisters of Mali were among the first victims. Around 100 members of the Osage tribe, in what later became known as the Reign of Terror, were brutally murdered. Now, this tale of greed and betrayal unfolds through the film Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro.
State your name.
I'm Molly Kyle. Incompetent.
Molly Burkhart seemed to have it all. A splendid home, chauffeured cars, and income from an oil field. But the reality of being a member of the Osage Native American tribe, a family that was considered one of the wealthiest in the world in the 1920s, made her a moving target for a widespread conspiracy of murder. One of Molly's sisters was shot in the back of the head and thrown into a ravine, while another sister perished in a house explosion. Meanwhile, Molly herself, young and married to a non-Native American, was slowly poisoned to rob her of her wealth.
But no, you think you know everything, right? With your Indian ways. Well, you think you get better with all them medicine man and all them roots and all them herbs and all that horse shit. You ain't, Molly. That's real medicine.
Finally, Molly sought help from the newly formed FBI to investigate these horrifying murders.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
John Whitehair. Age 23. No investigation. And Sarah Butler. Age 21. Suicide.
DiCaprio, portraying Molly's treacherous husband, Ernest Burkhart, in Killers of the Flower Moon, remarked, "This is a forgotten part of American history and an open wound that still festers." The Osage people were driven from their lands in Missouri in 1872 and relocated to a supposedly untouchable protected area in northern Oklahoma, where it seemed only the flowers known as the flower moon would grow. However, 22 years later, the largest oil and gas reserves in America were discovered in the very land the tribe had acquired. Despite government efforts to seize their land, they resisted. And by the 1920s, about 2,000 of them shared annual royalties equivalent to around $370 million today. They bought gilded limousines, sent their children to private schools, learned ballet, and hired white servants. By the transfer of land rights containing the black gold to their descendants, white men marrying Osage women saw immense benefits. One of those men was Ernest Burkhart, a World War I veteran, whose role is portrayed by De Niro in the film.
You like women?
Oh, you know I like women.
He convinced his nephew, William Hale, depicted as him in Killers of the Flower Moon, to marry Molly in 1917. Hale was a powerful swindler, controlling a bank and co-owner of a major store. He was known as the Kingpin of Osage Hills and had considerable influence over local law enforcement, turning a blind eye to many suspicious deaths. One of the first victims of the Osage massacre was Molly's sister, who died at the age of 27 under mysterious symptoms diagnosed by doctors. Such excuses couldn't justify the death of her other sister, Anna, aged 25. Anna was taken by Ernest Burkhart's brother to a remote spot in the Osage Hills in May 1921, where a hired assassin shot the defenseless, intoxicated woman in the head. On that same day, the body of Anna's cousin, Charles Whitehorn, was found. And less than 2 years later, another cousin named Henry Roan met a similar fate. 2 months after that, Molly's mother was also killed.
So the Southern, we never prayed for the great life. We just prayed for life.
Concerned locals hired private detectives to investigate these murders. But one of the detectives was horrifically assaulted. On the night of March 10th, 1923, Molly, with a terrifying explosion, was awoken in the town of Grey Horse, where both sisters lived. Rita, her surviving sister, her husband, and their servant were killed in the blast, caused by explosives planted by a hired hitman employed by her husband. While many suspected Hale's involvement in these atrocities, due to his nephew Ernest eventually inheriting from the family's estate, no arrests were made.
You know, you're pronouncing yourself too much, Bill.
You want $300 to live in D.C.?
Yes.
Molly, who never doubted her husband's involvement in the killings or attempts on her life, went to Washington seeking help. Finally, in 1925, after 60 contentious Osage deaths, the head of the FBI sent a team to bring the killers to justice.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
See, what about them?
See who's doing it.
A year later, they found enough evidence to convict Hale of murdering Henry Roan, and Ernest Burkhart confessed to conspiring to bomb. Both men were sentenced to life imprisonment, but were released after a short time, with Hale serving only 18 years and Burkhart 11. Though these murders had largely faded from America's memory, they remained legendary among Native Americans. Jeffrey Standing Bear, the current Osage tribal leader, believes that 5% of the tribe's population at that time were killed, amounting to over 100 people. Even today, disputes persist regarding the financial rights of Osage people in Oklahoma. And a century after the Reign of Terror, the Osage tribal chief states, "My people have suffered greatly, and the effects of that era still linger with us." We're thrilled to introduce our new segment, diving into the realm of true crime stories and movies based on real events. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts on this thrilling addition to Shrouded Studio. Your engagement means the world to us. Stay tuned for more gripping tales and captivating content. Here's to exploring the darker side of storytelling together. Thank you for being part of our growing community.